Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, The School of Love. My name is Maria and I am helping people discover their inner potential for love towards oneself and towards the others. Today I am inviting you to a new episode from the series, What I Wish I Knew When I Was Younger. And today I'm going to talk about the importance of shadow work. Respectively, I wish I knew when I was younger what shadow is, or in Carl Gustav Jung's language terminology, der Schatten. And I wish I knew the importance of shadow work. So what is shadow? As shadow in Carl Gustav Jung's conceptualization of the phenomenon is everything which is cut away from us in the process of education and socialization. So let's say when we are born like tabula rasa. We are born like little fluffy things who know nothing and essentially are completely empty, like empty hardware. And then in the process of, but we come with some sort of default elements, which everybody has more or less the same. It's a different discussion about so-called collective consciousness, or collective subconsciousness, which refers to those traditions and cultural background which we inherit by means of being born in a specific environment and, well, let's say family constellation. And but generally speaking, more generally speaking, related to the shadow work, a shadow is everything that in the process of being educated is pushed away or thrown away so that we become self-reliant and reliable citizens within that social structure which we are supposed to live in throughout our lives. And these things which are cut away from our initial being, they do not just disappear. They stay with us, but they are pushed into the known awareness of our being, into the subconscious, if you want, into those dimensions of our existence, of our entity, which we do not have access to. We have to push them away so strongly so that they do not interfere with our lives. And what's happening is that, while we do present ourselves to society and to the others as good humans who can integrate themselves among others and serve others in the name of the values and principles which govern that specific over individual community. But the older we get, the more all these repressed elements start to interfere with our regular functioning. And when this happens, this is very problematic, because if we do not solve the problem of the shadow in the process, which I'm going to detail in the next moments, if we do not solve the problem of the shadow, and if we do not integrate the shadow in a manner which allows it to unfold harmoniously in our everyday life, then we will forever be disturbed beings or split beings who are trying, the older we get, the more futilely, to control the shadow, to control our own behavior. If we are lucky enough and don't live long enough, the shadow doesn't ever come to the surface. But I would say after the age of 35, the shadow will increasingly interfere with our normal functioning and will create havoc in our everyday lives. So the 5 steps, the 5 stages I recommend for shadow integration or shadow assimilation are the next. The first step is awareness. So becoming aware of things which are interfering with your normal functioning, or what you and your environment consider normal functioning. So become aware of those elements and observe them. For instance, let's say you overreact when someone behaves too freely, or when someone has a very creative approach to life, meaning, for instance, they like strong colors, when strong colors, for instance, after a specific age, are not allowed in your cultural environment. And you have a very strong reaction to that, to someone wearing brilliant colors. So why do we have it? It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if the way someone else is dressing, as long as they fit in, as long as they don't disturb anyone. It shouldn't matter, but it matters. It disturbs you. So the moment you have some sort of emotional reaction, which is usually a negative emotional reaction, this means that the shadow is at work and is trying actually to communicate something to you. And this goes into the second step, which is identify the trigger. Why is it that element disturbing you? Why is it disturbing you that someone is wearing bright colors? It doesn't affect you in any way, unless you have some problem like physiological problem with those colors. So why is it triggering you? What and why exactly? You'll see. So the moment something triggers you, you'll observe that it is simultaneously attractive and toxic, which means you want to go away from it, but you feel this pull towards it. And the next question is, why exactly can't you avoid or find ways to soothe that feeling of pull towards it? Because usually if we're triggered, if we're tired or hungry and we get triggered, then it's enough to sleep a little bit or to eat something, and then the trigger goes away, or the reaction to that trigger goes away. But there are things like, let's say, bright colors, or someone wearing bright colors, which simply do not go away. And in that case, we have to deal with it. Number 3 is identify the payoff, because normally, as I said, if we are hungry or tired or angry or frustrated from a bad day at work, if there are ways to soothe that feeling of discomfort, and then the so-called trigger doesn't disturb us anymore. But in specific cases, like as I said, voices, in cases which deal with voices from the shadow, we cannot soothe them. But there is a reward, because suddenly we become self-righteous or become virtue signaling. That's the payoff. Suddenly it gives us the right to feel better. If let's say in case of someone who's wearing bright colors, which is really ridiculous to get triggered by that, we decide, at this age you don't wear something like that, or with this occasion you don't wear something like that, or it's simply lacks, it's simply distasteful. And suddenly this reward, it makes you feel superior, or it makes you feel more integrated. So there is a payoff. So you have to identify it, because identify the payoff is actually the voice which is trying to suppress the shadow. Number 4 is then to find healthy way to deal with triggers, such as proactively looking at the memory, the place, the present, whatever, instead of running away from it. So when let's say you get triggered by someone being dressed or wearing bright colors, instead of running away, of criticizing that person and rejecting that person, try to see what exactly inside of you actually feels attracted to it, because that's your shadow. Maybe someone in your childhood told you, maybe in your childhood you liked bright colors and you wore them as a child and you played various roles. Let's assume this, and someone, an authority figure, your father, your mother, your grandparents, your uncle, your aunt, whoever, told you, this is ugly, nobody does this, we don't do this, we are special, only only beggars or poor people do this. And you internalize that voice, and you never allow yourself to experiment or to wear bright colors. But you want to. And your child, your inner child wants this. But in order to protect himself or herself from critique coming from authority figures, from those perceived as authority figures, you repress it. You do not allow it to come to your consciousness. The moment you allow it to come to you, the moment you deal with that memory, even if you cannot remember clearly the memory, you remember the emotion, you feel the emotion. And the moment you feel the emotion, the moment you allow yourself to feel the emotion, you will heal it. So, and this is where number 5 comes, is be grateful for the lesson, for the experience, for whatever that awareness, that allowing has taught you. So practice real acceptance and embrace that emotion. It might feel uncomfortable, it will feel uncomfortable at the beginning, but the more you stay with that emotion, the more you accept and embrace it in a deep sense of gratitude, the more you heal it, and the more free you will feel. So when I was younger, I didn't know this. Now I'm practicing it on a regular basis. I have a very thick shadow, even now, in spite of having clarified a lot of it. And I can tell you my life has become fuller of experiences and this sense of awe at everyday occurrences in my life. That would be for today. Thank you for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you again very soon. Love and peace to you all.